Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this year's awards ceremony and our annual public meeting.
Good afternoon, everybody, and warm welcome to this year award ceremony and our annual public meeting.
I'm Chantal Gay, the CEO of the Standards Council of Canada, and I am honored to be in this position, and I am proud to represent and lead SCC for the past 5 years. I want to begin by acknowledging that I join you from the traditional unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. As a guest, I am honored to gather here today, and I thank all the generations of Anishinaabe Algonquin people who have and continue to take care of this beautiful land. Since we also meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we all call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Now, I would like to take this moment to go over a few housekeeping items and thank you all for joining us today. At the bottom of the Zoom webinar window, you will see the option to have this event broadcast to you in English or in French. Please select the language of your choice by clicking on the globe button. Zoom vous permet de suivre la
to follow the things in English or in French. Please choose the language of your choice.
If you require closed captioning, please select this feature along the bottom of your screen, close to where you would turn on simultaneous translation by selecting Show Subtitle. You can also congratulate our award winners today using the reactions button on the bottom of the Zoom call as the awards are giving out. I am delighted to welcome you to the celebration of Canada's Standardization Network. We will begin the event by announcing the 2002 SCC Award winners and give you the chance to meet them. After our award ceremony, I will introduce Kathy Milson, a member of our Governing Council, to open our annual public meeting with highlights from the year. As members of the audience, you will have the opportunity to type questions during the annual public meeting portion of our event in the chat feature, actually the Q&A feature, which will be moderated. We will aim to answer as many questions as we can, and if we do not get to your question, we will follow up with you if you leave us your mail address in the chat, your email address in the chat, or you can reach us anytime by emailing us at info@scc.ca. Today's event will be recorded and shared on our website and on our social media channels. So let's begin. Standards and conformity assessment work behind the scenes to make life safer, healthier, and more sustainable for Canadians and around the world. They build public trust in products and services, open access to markets, and give Canadian companies a competitive edge. They are powerful tools that can help address societal challenges and emerging issues, from climate change to artificial intelligence to health. But none of this could happen without the amazing and dedicated people in Canada's Standardization Network, who we are honoring today with our national awards.
All the work that we are accomplishing here at this CC could not be done with all of the people dedicated here in Canada.
Our Krantz Award, named in honor of Mr. Krantz, recognizes the exceptional leadership and contributions of an individual in Canada's standardization network. Before we announce the 2022 winner of this award, I would like to take a moment to remember the late Hugh Krantz. We were deeply saddened to hear of his passing last November. Mr. Krantz served as chairman of SCC for more than 10 years, an officer of the Order of Canada and former president of the Canadian Institute of Steel Constructions. His experience as an engineer helped develop more efficient, safe, and sound building codes and standards. So some of our staff knew Mr. Krantz, and here is what they had to say.
I had the privilege of working with Mr. Krantz. He was the epitome of a gentleman, a great leader who could zero in on what was important and made everyone feel like a valuable member of the team.
He truly was an amazing yet humble man. He epitomized what a true leader is all about.
I worked with Mr. Krantz for a number of years, and he was such a nice person. Genuine, always smiling, making conversation. He had tremendous impact on all who got to know him.
Mr. Krantz will be greatly missed. We are honored to be announcing the winner of this year's award, who embodies Hugh Krantz's own characteristics of honesty, integrity, respect, and commitment to standardization.
I've been involved in global standards development for decades, so I've achieved many accomplishments over the last 3 decades. My work has always served to affirm my conviction that standards are the way to overcome a key set of trade barriers and attain harmonization. It may be safety, health, banking, or clean drinking water related. Internationally harmonized standards have taught me that they are key to making global trade more accessible and economical by removing barriers to doing businesses across any and all borders. Reducing regulatory burden is no easy task, but I'm a first-hand believer that this is one of the greatest benefits of my standards work that I have achieved throughout my career. One of the best experiences I have had doing standards work is meeting different people across the globe. I've been fortunate enough in my standards work to collaborate with many countries, and I always find it very rewarding to learn about the various cultures firsthand. I've gained a vast network of colleagues who are always never too busy to discuss any topic I would like to talk about, and it's always nice to know the top experts in their field when you need some guidance down the road.
Dear Jim, congratulations, and thank you so much for all your contributions. Can you tell us a little bit more about something that you might be more proud of out of all the work that you've done with technical committees and advisory committees in the past years?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chantel. I'm going to probably talk about a recent experience rather than going over some old things that I've worked on, but I've been part of a small working group as part of the Provincial Territorial Advisory Committee that's been tasked with developing a white paper for resolving a trade irritant with Europe on the design of biomass boilers. I get excited when I talk about this work, but the working group has completed a white paper that points to solutions to resolving Canadian and European differences in our standards that would allow for biomass boilers and pressure vessels to be imported and exported to and from the EU and Canada. Canadian manufacturers then would be able to differentiate between biomass boilers and produce them domestically. The domestic production and eventual exportation of Canadian biomass boilers would have a large impact on the Canadian economy, specifically with regards to forestry, renewable energy sectors, which is important to Canada, the innovation economy, another important sector, and as a post-COVID economic recovery. You know, the working group is doing what they were doing on the white paper sets out to inform really jurisdictions in Canada how to develop better regulations. And knowing that the information in the white paper comes from a Canadian multidisciplinary group of subject matter experts. And the white paper may lead to the development of a new standard that would assist organizations in addressing their social responsibilities while respecting culture, socio, environmental, and legal differences and economic conditions. The benefits are really endless on this. And by integrating standards into regulations, something I do for the Ontario government, governments help ensure that businesses are on a level playing field globally, therefore seamlessly facilitating the movement of goods, services, and technology from country to country. All in all, a new standard would respond to market need that would be beneficial to both European and Canadian players in the heating sector. A white paper I'm pretty proud of. Thanks, Chantel.
Thank you very much, Jim. And again, a big congratulations. Our next award is the Committee Achievement Award, recognizing the contributions of a committee or group, such as an advisory committee, a technical committee, or a task group, in support of Canada's national standardization network.
Nelson Pesco, I'm the chair for the Northern Advisory Committee. The Northern Advisory Committee, NAC, provides support on multiple fronts. First and foremost, we provide oversight and strategic advice to SCC as it pertains to the development of the NECE program. We'll also contribute and provide recommendations of key topic areas to be considered for standardization. We'll solicit feedback and ensure that this feedback is reflected in the design of the new standards. Ultimately, we'll work with SCC to provide input on opportunities to be considered to showcase the standards so that the standards get understood, utilized, and ultimately implemented. The Northern Advisory Committee is honored to receive this award, and we would like to recognize everyone that has contributed to this program, such as the working group committees, technical committees, and CSA and B&Q.
Congratulations, Nelson, to yourself as chair of the committee and to the committee. Thank you so much for all your work, and thanks to the members for all their contributions. As you mentioned, NIST has been in existence now for 10 years. A lot of tools now exist, they've been developed. So do you see any barriers to uptake? And if so, can you provide us with some advice on how we could overcome these barriers?
Yes, Chantel. In general, a variety of barriers exist. However, the most significant ones that we're faced with are lack of awareness, capacity building, as well as access and cost to these standards. So collectively, we've tried to address these barriers through a series of initiatives. For example, in terms of access and cost, we're fortunate enough that these standards are made available free of charge and could be easily obtained from the internet in a PDF format. With respect to capacity building, we continue to push strongly in promoting training opportunities. Also, over the course of the last couple of years, we've delivered training sessions in all of the territories in partnership with a variety of organizations. So in regards to certain standards, we've developed what we call visual guides. So these visual guides are mainly targeting the communities in our regions. And basically, it's a high-level one-page overview that gives a graphical representation of the importance and significance of these standards. So ultimately, in terms of lack of awareness, we've taken a couple initiatives whereby government in Nunavut and government in Northwest Territories have referenced many of these standards in key design documents, such as the Good Building Practice documents, which is the main document that we reference for designing all our facilities. Also, NAC members, we continue to assist in identifying opportunities whereby we could showcase the standards. So for the last couple of years, we've presented at a variety of forums and conferences. For example, ArcticNet in 2019, NAPEG annual conference, which is the Professional Association of Engineers in Nunavut and Northwest Territories, Northern Territories Water and Waste Association, as well as a variety of other sessions, such as the municipal and housing associations in the territories. Thank you, Chantal.
Thank you very much, Nelson, and we're certainly going to continue on raising awareness. It's so important. Now we have the SCC Young Leader Award, which honors a young professional in our standardization network.
I went to engineering school at UBC in Vancouver and have been working as a building consulting engineer for more than a decade. I read, implement, and utilize codes and standards every day in order to properly deliver engineering projects and help create a better, safer, and more sustainable world for the general public. So I would strongly suggest that young professionals to apply today and to share your innovative ideas and get your voice heard in the international arena. Help us to help you to become a better engineer. It is obviously an honor to receive this prestige award from SCC, and it really reassures me that I am heading the right direction.
A big congratulations, Tommy, and thank you for your insight on getting involved in standardization at an early time in your career. Can you talk to us more about what drew you to the standardization system?
Yeah, for sure. I started my involvement in the standardization system through the recommendation by my industry mentor while I was working as an electrical engineer in training at Stantec Consulting. I was encouraged by my mentor to get in early, get involved often, and always challenge the status quo humbly in order to become a better design engineer in the buildings engineering industry. Before obtaining my bachelor degree, I was actually working as an engineering co-op student, which I was tasked to find and remove all abandoned IT cabling in an old 8-story academic facility. And during my daily routine site investigation, I have discovered that there is just so much IT, copper, coax, and fiber cabling that are either undocumented or simply hiding above T-bar ceiling, not being connected to anything or not being utilized at all. And because of this hands-on experience that I had, the first standardization committee that I decided to join was to help develop a new sustainability standard specifically related to IT and telecommunications networking infrastructures. The main focus of that standard committee was to establish a common IT cabling structural system that shall be universal and allow all forms of end-use device access to the various different system types, focusing on reducing the unnecessary cabling, conduit, and cable tray waste. And I still remember back in the good old pre-pandemic days, The fancy video Zooms or Microsoft Teams meetings were not that popular. Most of our meetings were conducted using either teleconferencing audio calls or in-person meetings at our regular scheduled conferences. But as a young engineer in the industry, I was very fortunate to be given an opportunity early to contribute to the standardization committee. Participating in the standardization committee also have opened a lot of doors for me. And specifically, I got the chance to speak in person with many industry experts from all around the globe. I was also given the opportunity to present some of our committee research findings at an international conference. I met very motivating industry mentors to accelerate my technical skill, and also met great mentees to improve my communications and teaching skill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tommy. And please continue to spread the good words to interest other young professionals to the standardization community. It is indeed a wonderful community. I am now very pleased to present the McMahon Dedicated Service Award, which recognizes the notable contributions of an individual here at the Standards Council of Canada.
For me, standardization is one of the most rewarding careers. It is one of those areas where no matter where you look, whether you're looking at the structure that you live in or you are examining the services that you're receiving, standardization is involved. The most favorite projects are the ones where I get to work with large, diverse groups of people and to work with them to listen to each other and to agree on a certain path forward for the good of either the community or health and safety or the economy. And this award means quite a lot to me because I've grown up with the Standards Council of Canada. I started as a summer student. I got married while I was working at the Standards Council of Canada. I had children while I was at the Standards Council of Canada. I had illnesses while I was at the Standards Council of Canada. I graduated a couple of degrees while I was at the Standards Council of Canada, so it's been there for me for all of those huge milestones. And along the way, I have made a huge community of friends, both those that I work with as well as those in the international community that I get to spend time with. And so it's part of my life. It's been there every step of the way. And so receiving this award is an acknowledgement, more for me, of what SCC has meant to me.
A big congratulations, Annika. I'm so happy for you. As you mentioned, you started at SCC when you were a summer student and you spent your career here, right? And in standardization. So from your perspective, having been here for quite a while, how would you describe the evolution of SCC and the system over the years?
I'd have to say one of the biggest changes since I started as a summer student is it was a very male-dominated place to work, both nationally and internationally. And I don't think that's actually changed until recently, believe it or not. And we've been really lucky to have our first female CEO, Chantal, and huge changes have been made in not just Canada, but internationally in how we look at women participating in standardization. And I think that that's also going to change how we see diversity in standardization. So that allows us to be more innovative and creative. And we're not just developing standards anymore for widgets or for new technology. We're developing standards also for social good. And that's been, I think, the biggest and most impactful change that I've seen.
Thank you very much, Annika. And again, a big congratulations. Very happy for you. This year, we also would like to make a special mention of the work of two other committees who led the development of national standards of Canada in long-term care. the CSA Technical Subcommittee on Long-Term Care Homes, which was chaired by Dr. Alex Mihailidis. He's the Scientific Director and CEO of AgeWell, and the Health Standards Organization Long-Term Care Services Technical Committee, which was chaired by Dr. Samir Sina, Director of Geriatrics at Sinai Health and University Health Network in Toronto. These committees demonstrated exceptional collaboration in their development of 2 new complementary standards for long-term care. Responding to the urgency of the issue at hand, they produced these standards in a timely manner, while also managing a very high volume of consultation with interested parties, with tens of thousands of consultations or input from people. HSO standard focuses on the delivery of high quality long-term care services, and CSA Group's standard focuses on creating safer physical environments. So thank you very much to both committees for their great, valuable work in this important area. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the winners and for all your incredibly inspiring work. So I would like to welcome back all the winners, and we will turn to our audience to see if they have questions for us or for the winners mainly. So everybody's there. Thank you, Nelson and Tommy and Jim and Annika. Any questions for our wonderful contributors, not just obviously to the standardization system, but to Canada, because that's what the system is for, is to serve Canadians in Canada. I guess we don't have questions for you. Okay, well, again, a big congratulations to all of you. Very impressive contribution. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very happy that we had also a chance to learn more about your great work through the videos. And I wish you a very good rest of the day. And please, you're welcome to stay for the annual public meeting portion of the meeting. So again, congratulations, everybody, and thank you.
I think there were questions, Chantal.
There were questions. Okay. Oh, yes, there is a question for Jim. I'm sorry. Jim, the question is, what do we need to do to promote standards more widely throughout Canada?
Excellent question. I've often been asked this many times, and it's always a tough one to respond to, but you know, I also think that we need to, one of the award winners today talked about getting more younger people involved in standards. And so as standards experts in Canada, I think we have a responsibility and obligation to promote standards and just talk about our standardization system and how important it is to Canada, and try to stimulate more interest on the technical committees that seem to be dominated by an older generation of people that see the value in standards. So we really have to teach the value of standards to the younger generations and say, this is the future of Canada, to get more involved in standards, obtain harmonization, and to take advantage of free trade agreements, that type of thing. And so that the young kids actually see standards. Standards Council of Canada always used an example. I think it was Richard Tremblay that taught this to me, that your average cell phone today has 250 standards to make that cell phone. When I started telling my kids that, they were like, oh, wow, because Jad, I don't understand the work you do. But when they can relate it to something that they see and work with every day, I think that's the type of example that we need to do more of to get the word out to the younger generation. Excellent question. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. And I'll build on that. So Tommy, there's a question for you. So, you know, you just won the award for young professionals. Like, what's your advice in terms of encouraging young professionals to join the standardization system and the standardization community?
Yeah, my advice for the younger engineers in training or the younger professional in the industry is to get in early. The reasons why I think for me to accelerate my technical skill in a shorter amount of period is by joining the standardizations where you get to meet the experts. And especially nowadays, technology just changes every day. We need the young blood to let us know what's the new and upcoming standards that we should be writing and be included in our standardization committees.
And Tommy, how do you suggest that might be the best ways to reach out to, like, what's the best advice you can give us on actually outreaching to young professionals? Like, can you give us a few examples or ideas of how we can continue to improve our outreach to them?
Yeah, a couple of samples that I can think of is in a lot of association in the industry, there's a lot of mentors and mentees programs that are great way to network and connect with different people. That's one way that I specifically myself joined the industry. And the second way that I sort of got into the standardization world is by working with my technical discipline lead at that time at our organization, where he periodically teach us about standard and codes. And that's another way of learning the new standards and getting into the standardization community.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm going to go to maybe the last question. It was a question to all, but maybe I'll ask Nelson and Annika to answer. But, through your experience, what has been the most rewarding part of being in this standardization community? Maybe I'll start with you, Nelson.
Well, I think the most rewarding is when we, the end result, when the standards are actually produced and delivered to the public for use. But I think personally, when I am in undertaking presentations and training sessions, where we sometimes get some reaction of appreciation towards our involvement and development of certain standards that were lacking in our territory. For example, thermosiphon foundations in permafrost. It wasn't until we created a standard before we were faced with a variety of challenges, and consultants were designing, systems that weren't necessarily best practices. So I guess in the sense, seeing how people appreciate and react towards the work we've done, that's the biggest accomplishment.
Thank you very much, Nelson. Annika.
It's hard to pick one. So I think for me, what's the biggest accomplishment is when we can see Canadian leadership. I always say we lead from behind, which is a really powerful position to be in. And when you see the work that we do at the Standards Council of Canada trickle down into the international sphere and embedded in having our experts, embed their knowledge and our innovation and our innovative thinking into the system is the most impactful for me. Sometimes it takes a few years, but you can see it.
Thank you very much, Annika. Again, I will say a big congratulations to all of you. Thanks a lot for your contributions. And I guess, again, you're very welcome to stay for the annual public meeting. And it was a pleasure learning more about your experience and your great, again, contributions to Canada. So, bravo.
Congratulations.
Okay. So
thank you again. Thank you to everyone. And congratulations again for your outstanding contribution to the world of standardization.
This concludes the first part of our event. The next segment will be our annual public meeting. So I would like now to invite Kathy Milsom, a member of our Governing Council and Chair of our Governance Committee, to share our highlights from last year and our priorities for the future. Kathy, please.
Merci, Chantal. Bonjour, everyone. It's a great honor for me to be here this afternoon to share with you some of SCC's most notable achievements. Chantal and I will then be pleased to address any questions you might have for us. What has become increasingly clear since the pandemic is that standardization has a vital role to play in innumerable domains. It was not only those within the standardization system who recognized this. Standards were called for in a number of the ministerial mandate letters, including that of the new Federal Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. SCC was mentioned by name multiple times in the 2021 federal budget, which dedicated nearly $30 million over 5 years to standards for artificial intelligence, data governance, and climate-resistant, resilient infrastructure. The Prime Minister himself spoke about the need for more standards, a strong signal for all government departments to leverage the tools and expertise of SCC and our partners going forward. Those partnerships are only going to become more essential over time. We look forward to continuing to work both with our traditional partners and stakeholders, to continue to always work with, as well as the new entrants to the field, with knowledge and insights essential to addressing emergent questions. We did not hesitate last year to jump in and work with a broader range of partners, federally, provincially, and territorially, across industry and academia, in Canada and around the world. We have also extended our reach, sharing insights and best practices with other accreditation bodies, both nationally and internationally, in the interest of strengthening the sector as a whole and delivering more value together. One of the highlights of last year was the launch of Canada's new national standards strategy. We were honored to have the opportunity to listen and engage with our colleagues and committed stakeholders to develop a robust and thoughtful standards strategy, which identifies where standards can deliver the greatest benefits for our country. We are now focusing our efforts on implementing this strategy with our trusted allies in the standardization network. We also continue to focus on what matters to Canadians. We supported the creation of a national standards for long-term care, which were released last month. We continued our work on national standards for mental health and substance use health services. In the digital economy sphere, we accelerated development of data governance standards along with a new standard to help small businesses defend against cyber threats. We also started to lay the groundwork for a new collaborative on artificial intelligence that will bring together developers, researchers, regulators, and the public to define strategies for ensuring AI is used ethically and in line with Canada's priorities. Climate action continues to be one of our key areas of focus. We carried on our work to safeguard critical infrastructure in Canada. We also began co-sharing a strategic advisory group to advise ISO in establishing common approaches to ESG reporting. Accessibility Standards Canada joined Canada's Standardization Network as a standards development organization. The standards they create will benefit all Canadians by helping create a country without barriers. These examples are only a handful of what we accomplished, and I invite you to consult our annual report to learn about our successes. The commitment to collective success, to standardization benefits everyone, everywhere, has long been demonstrated by SCC member Tony Capel, who deservedly received the 2021 Lord Kelvin Award from the International Electrotechnical Commission for his contributions to standards for wireless networks, cybersecurity, and smart grids. It is the highest honor given by the IEC and the first time it has ever been awarded to a Canadian. All of us at SCC are proud to acknowledge Tony's achievements. Tony's areas of endeavor point to the ways in which standardization is increasingly needed beyond the classic domains of physical health and safety into new territory just being defined today that will determine the shape of our society for generations to come. With that big picture of future in mind, we are now in the process of planning SCC's vision for the next 10 years, which aims to put the power of standardization to work for all. To get there, we will need to work even more collaboratively with partners and stakeholders and reach out to new groups of stakeholders that are not familiar with the system. We would like to thank every member of the SCC team for their ongoing dedication and effort throughout another successful year. It's truly a privilege to work with such a small but hugely impactful team. We also would like to thank our council members for their commitment, dedication, and unwavering support in SCC providing all the value it can to Canada and Canadians. Very importantly, we thank the members of our technical committees and partner organizations for their continued support and engagement. Moving forward together, we know we can continue to make life safer, healthier, more prosperous, and more sustainable for people, communities, and businesses in Canada and around the world. I would like to extend a special thanks to Chantal and SCC's leadership team for another successful year under notably challenging circumstances, which has inspired me and other leaders across the standardization system. We're looking forward to another exciting and productive year. In closing, I would like to thank you for joining us today, and let's continue to work together to open a world of possibilities. Chantal and I are now pleased to answer any questions that you might have for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. We're going to give some time for the audience potentially to raise some questions so that in case people are thinking about them, we're just monitoring the Q&A, just making sure that we are not overseeing any questions that the audience might be asking. I'm not seeing anything right now. Maybe there is one. Okay, excellent. Sorry, Kathy, we do have a question. So it's a question from a member of the audience, and it says, I want to become involved. Patent is under examination. One woman on it, so time is booked. When should I connect? Yes, okay. So I think we will get back to the audience, the person that asked the question, so that we can understand clearly the request, so and provide an answer after the meeting. Any other questions from the audience? And again, if you have something that comes to mind after the event, don't be shy. Please feel free to submit your questions to info@scc.ca and we will respond. Okay, I guess this brings us to the end of our awards and annual public meeting event. I hope you enjoyed this afternoon as much as I did.
Thank you again for attending this session. I hope you do feel energized and inspired by the calls to action from our winners.
If you are interested in exploring an area of standardization that is unfamiliar or new to you, or if you have yet to participate in Canada's standardization network, I encourage you to get involved. Visit our website at scc.ca and connect with us on social media to join our community. I wish you all a safe and wonderful afternoon. Please take care. Bye-bye, everyone. Merci.